In the news this week, Franklin Graham is backed by church leaders as attempts are made to stop him preaching. The Lord Chancellor says legalised assisted suicide would be open to abuse. And a new MP says Britain should return to its Christian heritage. Hello. Church leaders and Christian groups have criticised an attempt to prevent US evangelist Franklin Graham from preaching the gospel. A series of venues have cancelled bookings for Franklin Graham's gospel events because of opposition to his biblical understanding of marriage and sexuality. Church ministers said it was antithetical to freedom of speech. The West of Scotland Gospel Partnership called on the SSE Hydro Arena in Glasgow to reverse its decision, saying failing to do so would have serious repercussions for the civic liberties of all. They said Franklin Graham is being discriminated against for having on occasions expressed mainstream Judeo-Christian views on sexuality. Lord Chancellor Robert Buckland has said he has grave doubts about any weakening of the assisted suicide law. Activists have been pushing for the current safeguards against assisted suicide to be removed, despite fears that the most vulnerable would suffer as a result. The Lord Chancellor expressed his personal concerns and said the government has no plans for a review of the law. Personally, I have grave doubts about the ability of legislation to be watertight when it comes to the potential for abuse. Dr. Gordon MacDonald, who leads Care Not Killing, warmly welcomed the comments.
Well, we were very pleased with the Lord Chancellor's statement because clearly there had been a lot of misinformation put out that the government was about to launch an inquiry, and the Lord Chancellor has been very clear that the government has no plans to launch an inquiry, and indeed that's exactly what the minister who was representing the government said in the debate on the 23rd of January.
More than 1,700 people with Down syndrome and their families have signed a letter to the Prime Minister urging him not to allow abortions for the condition in Northern Ireland. A new legal framework is set to come into force by the end of March, which would allow abortion up to birth for disabilities including Down syndrome. Families fear that if the law changes, there will be a rise in the number of unborn children with the condition being aborted, as is the case in England and Wales. Nicola Woods, whose 7-year-old son Daniel has Down syndrome, said people are deluded if they think this won't have a negative impact on the Down syndrome community. People are keen to advocate for equality once babies are born, but not for the unborn child with a disability. And finally, a new MP has used his maiden speech in Parliament to argue that Christianity can help shape Britain for the better. Danny Kruger, MP for Devizes in Wiltshire, said the country is struggling with the concept of identity because it has moved away from its Christian heritage.
Traditionally, we had a sense of this. We are children of God, fallen but redeemed, capable of great wrong but capable of great virtue. And even for those who didn't believe in God, there was a sense that our country is rooted in Christianity, that our liberties derive from the Christian idea of absolute human dignity. And today these ideas are losing their purchase. And so we are trying to find a new set of values to guide us, a new language of rights and wrongs, and a new idea of identity based not on our universal inner value or on our membership of a common culture, but on our particular differences. As we advance at speed into a bewildering world where we are forced to ask the most profound questions about the limits of autonomy and what it means to be human, we may have reason to look about for the old ways and seek wisdom in the old ideas, which are, in my view, entirely timeless. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.